What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and we have the patch notes, and I gotta tell you guys that I already went over and skimmed over these things a little bit, and pretty much the shining lights of this update is the characters themselves. These characters look pretty damn strong, although one of them I'm a little bit worried about. We'll talk about her in a second, but all they've really added in the patch notes is the Dimension Rifts, which I'm not really sure how relevant that's going to be because you can just farm artifacts. For some players, that's going to be a really good thing. For other players, it's not going to be such a good thing. So it's kind of one of those iffy things. But I do believe the characters are really where it's at when it comes to this update. And, you know, we do have 3 new characters, Athena, Gilgamesh, and Kingo. And we're getting new uniforms for all 3 of the characters. And you'll be able to acquire Kingo. You can actually get him fully transcended through the epic quest. You got to buy Gilgamesh to the deluxe pack and spend 4,400 crystals. And then you get Athena by playing through all the Eternals, through all the epic quests, before you can actually get Athena at tier 3. So that is kind of a bummer that you got to do all that for Athena. But, I mean, she looks pretty strong. We'll see. We'll see. In the live stream, they were saying that Athena's going to be more of a PvE character, that Kingo's more of a PvE character, and it definitely looks like when you look at their kits. And Gilgamesh is going to be PvP. And I got to say, Gilgamesh, I think he's going to be pretty OP in PvP. I think he's going to be pretty damn strong. And honestly, I think Kingo's going to be pretty damn strong. Also, they've also added reforging of CTP of Destruction and CTP of Greed, which, for some PvP players, this might be pretty good. Although, reforging CTPs isn't a big thing in the game. There's still a lot of players that refuse to do it because it's such an expensive thing to do. So, it's kind of one of those, That's what I mean by the characters are really the shining lights of this update. But we scroll over to Athena here. And Athena, she's got a little love going on, right? She's got a little love going on. I mean, she's got a great leadership. I also like, by the way, that they had the ability and the instincts here with the leadership Eternals and Order. That's kind of cool. She's a universal, right? And her leadership applies to all allies, which is awesome. Now, the thing that always worries me when I see these kinds of leaderships is, are they going to be relegated to just a leadership? And I hope that isn't the case for Athena, especially considering all the effort and work you have to put into just to get this character. But I do think Athena's going to be pretty OP. I mean, we'll see. Her passive, increased critical rate by 20%, increased critical damage by 25%. And remember, this is her base kit without her uniform. And then additional pierce damage by 5%. And she is only the second character in the game to be able to get this. The first character was Null. And we saw how strong Null was, right? But he's kind of, he's still super strong, but he's kind of fallen down a little bit in all honesty compared to other PvE characters. So it's going to be really interesting to see how strong Athena is going to be. I mean, she is like the warrior of the bunch. And then her tier 2 passive gives her guaranteed critical rate, which is awesome. It also could signify that maybe she'll be optimal with a rage, which that'll blow donkey butt. We really don't want to put no rage on her. And then Justice Rush, her skill 1. Nothing really major. I mean, bleed. Dot damage is useless in Marvel Future Fight, unfortunately. And then skill 2. Nothing. I mean, she's got an all defense down that goes up to 30%, but I mean, that's not really that much of an all defense down. This is pretty interesting, though. Her third skill, actually, you can move it around using a V-Pass. That's pretty cool. Characters that you can do this with are actually quite fun to play. And she does have 5 seconds of immunity on this thing. She also has silence, so, maybe X. And then Sacred Blow, love the name. She has paralysis that applies for 3 seconds, so some good CC. That's really nice. And then she has an all defense down also that goes up to 30% again. So at least you don't have to worry about her 2 all defense down skills counteracting each other since they're at the same level of all defense down. That's actually a good thing. I just wish it was a little bit higher for the newer players. But I mean, with the extra 5% Pierce, will you really need it? Probably not. I mean, Pierce is pretty OP, especially if you have no Pierce on your account at all. And then skill 5 has 4 seconds of invincibility, and then you get an increased attack buff by 10%. I mean, that's 10% really isn't much, but okay. And then we scroll down to Mr. Deluxe Pack character here, 4,400 crystals. Gilgamesh, he is a combat superhero, and his leadership increases all basic defenses by 50% to all allies. I mean, maybe for PvP, but I highly doubt it. And then his passive, he's got an awesome passive. He's got the 4% recovery of max HP every second, so he's got the Wolverine heal more or less. He has native super armor. He starts healing when he hits 99%, so he's always going to be healing all the time. So that's already a really good sign for Gilgamesh. Then he's 100% immune to mind damage. He also decreases basic damage received by 45%. So you can already see a lot of PvP potential in this character, but it gets a lot better. His skill 1 has Ignore Iframe. This is something I was wondering about in the live stream. And this is on a 3-second cooldown. So he's pretty much going to be able to ignore iframe a lot. And whenever you see low cooldowns on these characters, that's a good sign that they might be good in PvP, especially when you have a skill with ignore iframe. Skill 2 is a little bit of stun, no big deal. Skill 3, and then has the damage accumulation, which is pretty nice, man. You know, it's 0.7%, it's not the greatest accumulation, but it is nice to see it in his kit. That's pretty cool. And then his skill 4 is a charging skill, and we'll see how that plays out in PvP, but it does increase his all attack by 30%, which is awesome, and his critical rate by 20%. And this lasts for 6 seconds, and you're pretty much going to be able to keep it up most of the time with this low cooldown. And then his skill 5 is only on a 7-second cooldown, so I really like all these cooldowns on his skills. I should have looked at Athena a little bit more closely on her cooldowns. But he also has 5 seconds of immunity. He's also got an all defense that goes up 50%. So that'd actually be really good for PvE. But I mean, he's got fracture and all kinds of goodness. Let me look at Athena real quick here as far as the cooldown. Low cooldown, low cooldown. Oh yeah, she's got low cooldown. So hopefully she'll be pretty proc friendly. Gilgamesh, I'm pretty much betting he's going to be a PvP character. And then we get into Kingo, who is a speed type in his base kit. And his leadership, you know, ignore target, increases dodge rate by 50%. I mean, speed always gets the shaft when it comes to leaderships almost all the time. But he does have the ignore target dodge rate by 35%, which is awesome, especially for Null. And the fact that he's a speed type, right? He'll be probably pretty good for Mephisto, at least I would think, especially when you look at his kit. But he does have a decreased basic damage received by 30%, making him a little tanky. That's nice to see. And then his skill 1, nothing big. Skill 2, nothing really big there. Skill 3, he does have a sweet accumulation, plus 1%. That's nice, man. That's a nice accumulation that he's got. Very powerful. This lasts for 8 seconds on a 15-second cooldown. Cut that in half. That's 7.5 seconds. So you're pretty much going to have the accumulation up all the time, which is awesome. The skill 4, the increase all basic attack by 50% is primo, and you're pretty much going to have it up pretty much almost all the time, which is amazing. That's wonderful. Amazing attack buff. And then his 5th skill, he has penetrate. He has an increase to his basic damage by 30%. So I mean, he's got double attack buffs, 50% on his 4th skill, 30% on his 5th skill. I mean, you know, for a base kit, this is pretty awesome, honestly. He's looking like he's set up pretty damn good, and he has an immunity for 7 seconds. That is sweet. And this is on an 18-second cooldown, so 9 seconds when it's cut in half. So he's pretty much going to have that immunity all the way up, and we saw a lot of iframes in his kit. So I'm imagining Kingo's going to have a lot of damn survivability in his base kit. I imagine he's going to be pretty OP. And then we get into the uniforms. Now, the uniform for Athena keeps her as a universal type. Her uniform effect does give her an extra chain hit damage by 10%, which is massive, especially considering she already has 5% pierce in her kit. And then she gets guard break immunity, which is awesome. And she also gets decreased basic damage received by 35%. So adding a little tankiness, the extra damage, the guard break immunity is really nice. Really, really good uniform effect, actually. The only thing they changed is skill 3 and 5 from her base kit. But now skill 3 has an accumulation that's only 0.6%. And this is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. I wish this accumulation was a little bit more. But she does have 5% pierce, right? That's something you got to keep in mind with this character. She does do a lot of hits, at least from what we saw in the live stream. So I'm holding out. You know, I'm not going to make too many judgments on this. And she does have 5 seconds immunity. And then, of course, the paralysis for 3 seconds at CC. Very nice. And then, of course, there's that silence. And then the 5th skill gives her 5 seconds of invincibility. I mean, having immunity, invincibility. I mean, this is 5 seconds. This is 5 seconds. And these are on low cooldowns. I mean, the girl's going to have an insane amount of survivability. Not to mention, she gets a nice increased basic attack buff by 25%, crit rate by 20%. So, I mean, yeah. And then Gilgamesh, what we got going for him? So, he's still a combat superhero. And then his uniform effect actually applies to all Eternal allies. Let me look at some. Yeah, applies to all Eternal allies. And increases all basic defense by 35%. And decreases chain hit damage by 15% when attacked. So, this is a PvP thing for sure. And then decreases damage received from reflected effects by 80%. So, he's going to be an insane support for your PvP team. And honestly, you know, having Cersei on there, you know, you got the decreased damage received, the increased all attack by 30%, and the increased damage to supervillains. I mean, decreased damage received from supervillains. I mean, it's going to be a pretty potent little team, I imagine, with Gilgamesh and Cersei on the team. Then we get into his passive. His passive goes from a 4% recovery to a 6%. So it's a much better heal. He's going to have a lot more survivability. He's going to be a lot tankier with this. He's going to have that decreased damage received from reflected effects, which is pretty awesome, guys. And then they changed his skill 3 and skill 5. His skill 3 has 4 seconds of invincibility. They gave him a remove all debuff, which is awesome, especially for PvP. And then he has a damage accumulation based on how much damage you take. Now in PvP, this is actually a good thing. We all saw how well it played out for Luke Cage, right? So I'm imagining, you know, considering this guy's insane heal, his decreased basic damage received, his ignore iframe on that low cooldown, I think he's going to be quite monstrous in PvP. I mean, he better be, especially considering he's a Crystal Wall character. And he's got a nice accumulation too, man. That is sweet. And then his skill 5, I mean, 35% recovery max HP. So not only does he have the passive heal, but he gets another insane heal on his 5th skill. Wow. And then he also has the fracture. And he's still got the all defense down here. He's got an insane increased basic damage by 50% for 1 attack. So that's a damage proc that he's actually got on this skill. So wow. I mean, Gilgamesh looks like he's going to be a hell of a PvP character. And then we get him in Kingo. And Kingo's the only one they changed his typing. He was the speed. They changed him to blast in the uniform. And then his uniform effect, activation rate when skill explosion bombardment is used, applies itself. Cooldown time of skill eternal burst set to 1 second. Okay, so you're just lowering the cooldown of the skill. And skill 1, eternal burst. Okay, nothing really major there. Skill 3 has a nice heal, 6% recovery of max HP. He's got paralysis also on this thing that applies to world boss. He's got the 3 seconds of immunities, super armor. The super armor lasts for 5 seconds. Shame he didn't have that up all the time, but still really good. And then he's got that sweet accumulation still, that plus 1%, which is really nice. Skill 4, the ignore target dodge rate. They gave him a little bit more ignore target dodge rate with a 40% and increase all basic attack by 40%. That's pretty sweet. Really strong. And then his skill 5 has 7 seconds of invincibility and then the attack buffs. I mean, Kingo is really, I mean, he's got it going on, man. He really does. This is the same as it was in his base kit, but he does get an increased damage or critical rate by 30%. I believe it was 20% before, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so you know, this is at 15% and this is at 30%. This is at 50%. And then whenever you go down to Kingo, yeah, his crit rate's going to go up another 15%. The attack buff stays the same. And then the increased attack buff in the uniform actually drops. This is at 40%. Whereas in the 4th skill on his base kit, it's actually at 50%. Interesting. But something else I noticed here really quick as I skimmed over is that Gilgamesh also gets an increase all basic attack by 120% for 7 seconds. How I missed that a second ago is beyond me, but what? Increase all basic attack by 120%? Whoa. On top of the damage proc? Wow. That is just... That's bonko, my friends. That is bonk. Oh. Characters are looking strong. And then we scroll down here to look at their tier 3s and awakened skills. Athena's tier 3. I mean, she's got paralysis, which is nice for the regular world boss. She's got damage proc. She's got, you know, the 8% penetrate. Nothing really major in her tier 3, to be perfectly honest. Really, I think it's just going to be more of getting in the stat bump so she can do a lot more damage, having higher stats. And then Gilgamesh and Kingo obviously got the awakened skills. And then Gilgamesh here, he has the incapacitation, remove active buff from target. He's got paralysis. He's got the, you know, the normal typical crap that we're used to seeing from these characters. He's got the remove all debuff, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's pretty much typical awakened skill stuff. Nothing really too major in all honesty. And pretty much the same thing for Kingo here. And then you can take a look at their skills. Pretty cool. And then here they talk about the epic quest. You can see where they got the characters placed here. Let me scroll down here a little bit more. And then you see the 4,400 crystals for Gilgamesh. And then you can see what happens here when you go through the epic quest with these characters. You'll be able to transcend Kingo. You'll get Gilgamesh to tier 2. And you'll be able to acquire Athena at tier 3. And then we have Dimension Rifts here, right? And, you know, they open Dimension Rifts that can have a different theme. Each round to acquire rewards such as exclusive passive skill artifacts. So, you know, now we got, you know, we had Dimension Rifts once before, but now we got these again. And they're going to let us be able to get some artifacts through here. Now, depending on whether or not you think these artifacts are really that relevant, really depends on what you're going to think about this game mode. Like, for me personally, I could care less about this. The artifacts really, I mean... they have their uses, but they're not. They're kind of whatever to me, right? Because there's so much RNG in getting these things. But okay, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'll try to be optimistic about it. Maybe it'll be a good thing, right? And, you know, Dimension Rifts can be opened and entered through the banner from the main lobby screen or through the challenge tab. Yeah, I mean, we pretty much figured that. And the participation time and number of participants of an open Dimension Rift is limited, so you can only do it so many times. As it shows here, one that they said in the live stream, we can only do this once a day. And then you're going to get better rewards as you climb up the ladder here from normal to advanced to rare to heroic and so on and so on and so on. And then you can collect Dimension Rift summon stones of each grade to open a Dimension Rift. So you're going to need these stones to open up Dimension Rifts. And each Dimension Rift round can be opened once, and the normal grade can be opened for free. So anything beyond normal, we're going to need these stones to open up other Dimension Rifts in order in hopes maybe to get a certain artifact, or a better artifact, I guess, if you will. The Dimension Rift themes that can be opened differ by round. Please check the schedule for details. Yes, you know, the higher the level, the higher the difficulty. And it says here the Dimension Rift currently has themes 1 through 7. So, I mean, this could change. Maybe they could add some other themes in the future. If there's a Dimension Rift opened by yourself, a friend, or an alliance member, tap the enter button to participate after selecting your heroes and difficulty. Okay, so you can join your friends, which is pretty cool. I do like that. Agents can choose 3 heroes as a team and can control 1 hero. The autoplay function is also available. Not bad. That's just what we want, more auto stuff. The progress point and rewards that can be acquired differ by difficulty. And kind of scroll down here a little bit. You guys can see this here. It looks kind of like story missions right here. And then you clear the stage to acquire progress points. Progress points will no longer be acquired after reaching the maximum amount of points. So it's going to be a one and done thing. Then you got your first clear rewards. And acquire uniforms, hero XP, artifacts, and Dimension Rifts, summon stones. Okay. Agents with 1 or more progress points in the Dimension Rift will receive the reward. So as long as you got 1 progress point, you can receive a reward. And then you got the MVP reward. MVP rewards will be given to agents who contributed the most in a Dimension Rift, which is pretty cool. I think that's fair. Whoever contributed the most should get the best reward. I think that's fair. Selection criteria: acquire a total of 20 or more progress points and rank first among the agents who reach the required points. And then, of course, rewards will be sent to your mailbox. And then you guys can see the rewards right here. Dimensional Clash round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They show the rewards that you can actually get. And you can actually get, you know, an artifact from here, which is, that's actually pretty cool, right? I mean, you can actually get a 3-star. Actually, this makes it a lot better knowing that you can actually get the reward. So, yeah, that's actually a lot better than just having RNG. So, my opinion of this has actually changed a little bit now. I mean, even though a lot of these artifacts I don't think are really very useful, some of them aren't too bad. So, that's actually a really good thing. And then you got Dimension Rift rewards here. And you guys can read all over this if you want to. And then we have artifact improvements. So the artifact option change feature has been added. Random option 1, instinct option, and random option 2 effects related to the instinct both change randomly at the same time. I haven't even dove into that. I've never even done that yet. The option change feature can be used only with artifacts that are 4-star or higher. So agents can now distinguish enhanced artifacts and exclusive passive skill artifacts when dismantling artifacts. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then you see the new artifacts here for the new Eternals. So you got the one here for Athena that gives her ignore target dodge rate. That'd actually be really good for Null. And then also, this is nice. Increase basic damage to supervillains faction by 20%. That's pretty damn sweet. I'm not going to lie. That artifact is damn sweet. And then you have the one for Gilgamesh here, which, when HP is below 40%, applies to self, recovers HP by 80%. So, and yeah, I mean, it's just going to make them a whole lot better for PvP. Increase max HP by 75%. I mean, it's only 27-second cooldown, but man, that's enough that could save you, man. Have that extra HP. Wow, 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 wow. And then Kingo here, increase basic damage dealt to enemies with 50% HP or below by 25%. So, whenever their HP gets below 50% HP, that's when you actually get the damage bump. It's kind of shaky there. I'm not really feeling that. Then here they talk about the CTP of destruction and agreed reforging, that we can actually reforge now. And again, this is really going to depend on you guys as to, you know, whether or not you actually do this. But I mean, you know, you got the CTP of destruction here that whenever it's reforged, you'll actually gain increased damage to boss types by 120% and an additional 30% of concentration, which is, I mean, it's pretty massive, honestly. That's going to be an insane damage bump, or you could have apply self increase all attack by 20%. Wow. And then with the brilliant, you can get the increased damage dealt to boss types by 200%. Wow, an additional 50% of concentration. Or you get increased all attack by 32%. And then with the greed, you can actually gain ignores enemies damage decreased by 35%. So if they have a decreased damage received, this is going to ignore that by 35%, making this a much better PvP obelisk. And or you get an increased all attack by 20%. And then if you get a brilliant, you can actually ignore the enemy's damage decreased by 70%. So like if a character was a tank and you have this a brilliant CTP of greed on your character, they're not going to be a tank no more because they're going to ignore 70% of the decreased damage received. Holy crap. Or you could just get an increased all attack by 32%. So yeah. I mean, for me, this is not a big deal. I'm probably never going to reforge a CTP of destruction or a greed. Well, maybe a destruction. I don't know. That increased boss damage, if you get that, maybe it'd be all right. But I mean, you'd still be better off going with CTPs of energy if you're going to get an obelisk with a proc. But I mean, we'll see how it plays out in the future. Then we have the future past. Spend a little money. You can get this sweet little icon right here of Quicksilver. Too bad Quicksilver isn't as good as he really should be, especially for a native tier 2 character, but still, it's a cool icon. Thenis is really cool. Gwynpulse is kind of funny, as it should be. And then you got the uniform crap, which we don't really care about. And then we have Timeline Survival. Timeline Survival has been improved to show buffs that are already possessed when entering a landmark. Well, here's the truth, guys. I haven't played Timeline Survival in a while, and I probably won't. Like I said earlier, when it comes to the artifacts, I just haven't really cared about it that much. And Timeline Survival is so time-consuming that I don't want to play it, man. I actually dread and hate that game mode with a royal passion. And I know a lot of other players that feel the same way about it. Not all of us, obviously, but I just don't care for it. So this here is fine and dandy. It's kind of whatever, man. I don't really care about it. But I mean, maybe some people will find these changes good for them. And then some game error fixes. And that's pretty much it. So like I said earlier, I mean, this update really, as far as the shining lights, I mean, it really is the characters themselves. The Dimension Rift, the improvements to Timeline Survival are kind of honestly just meh to me, just kind of whatever. Maybe for some of you out there, that'd be pretty cool. But I do think Gilgamesh is going to be a pretty insane PvP character. I do think that Kingo is going to be extremely strong in PvE. And I think Thena's probably going to be damn strong. I mean, honestly, having that 5% pierce will give her a lot of power, and then with her uniform gaining that 10% chain hit damage, and with her low cooldowns, maybe if she plays really well with the proc, she might be pretty damn insane, man. She might surprise all of us. So let me know how y'all feeling about this update. Do you think it's a meh update? Do you think it's a good update? Are you happy with the characters and the changes that they get from their uniforms and how we acquire them? And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. GMT+7 time. The link is in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See ya.